Alright, jumping in here into this best of three between both players being top 10 in Golden League. On the right side is going to be LucifroN playing as the Mongols in blue. Not a spectacular start for him. You see no stone or gold close to that town center.
Ooh.
Whereas on the other side, there we go. Look at B out there. That is a perfect spawn for a Mongol player. Excluding the fact, actually, he has an OVU at the back, so no, I take it back. That is a perfect spawn for B.
No, yeah. B got a really, really good spot. This is actually like, it's a little bit like vomit inducing. I'm very worried for LucifroN. I think he might be forced to play something like Magadai or Outpost spam early on, and that will set back Castle Age. And Castle Age really is the race between Mongol players. The only way this gets good in the early game for LucifroN is if they go into the Rax micro battle and he wins there. But B isn't a pushover in micro. Like, this is the thing that always disappoints me in Mongol Mirrors. I think this is the matchup that is most hindered by map seed generation, and there's only so much we can do about it with the current formats, which is why I'm looking forward to future weeks, Lidakor, when we do, of course, start adding custom maps in from the community. Shout out to EGC for planning to do that, because it might help alleviate some of the BS of the Mongol Mirror, because we've seen plenty of players lose, and very clearly lose, because of map spawn.
And like some players actually consider that when it comes to picking civilizations. So for example, Beastie at one point said he picks his Mongols according to where he knows that his opponent won't be picking Mongols, because he just doesn't want to fight a Mongol mirror exactly because of this. And obviously, you could say, why are we not using specific seeded maps? First of all, because these are the early runs of the tournament, so it's very difficult to find dozens of seeded maps. And in particular, it's very difficult to find perfectly seeded maps for Mongol mirrors, because all you can do is just keep generating maps until you find one that's suitable. And for Mongol mirrors, you have to have a specific amount of things lining up properly, like, let's say, gold and forest close to one another, but also make sure the OVU is at the same location relative to the starting town center spot. So this is difficult to find, and indeed, it's going to be much, much better once we have the custom maps going, because those can be adjusted a lot sooner. It's not like we have to wait for the devs to fix anything. We do have a great map making community that's going to help us with that. And speaking of that, I think this is the right time to promo a show match on Tuesday, because for the first time in EGC history, we're going to be taking a look at pro players playing on custom maps. We're going to have a play 05 between Vam and Puppy Paw, which is going to be essentially the showcase of some of the custom maps that we are going to use in the upcoming rounds of Road to Wololo.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll be a long series. I'm hoping for 5 games. Probably not going to get cut short by a tree falling on a power line. But definitely tune into that, folks, because that sounds pretty hype. I'm excited to see like what the pros think of those new maps. And you know, someone I would like to quickly dial back to on like the generation, because I think it's really important to highlight here. Because we talked about like all these variables of what's fair, right? Like we need to get the wood lines, the gold lines. Keep in mind playstyles. Although the Mongol builds are quite similar at the moment, if the meta diversifies further and there's not a clear definitive build, player style and builds matter more. So what is considered a good spawn can become subjective, right? Because one player might highly rate a golden berry spawn. The other one might be harder onto wood or the UV placement. This is another awkward issue when you like debate this. And it's also why we don't tend to have like remakes based on bad spawns. Is like, how many times would you flip the coin on that and keep like regenerating? And 2, like, are the players in agreement? Like, do they feel that the same things are required for it to be a good spawn?
Yeah, that's a great point indeed. Right now, it looks like LucifroN is getting pushed back, but just going back in that thought process for a split second, we have seen how Give You Anxiety played French today, for example, just playing for that Spearman Archer Rush. Like, he didn't even touch his gold for a long time. Like, for him, having a hunt at the back and the gold on the front with that French for the game plan that he had for that game is perfectly fine. In fact, it's better than having a gold at the back and hunt at the front. So, you know, the admins, of course, don't know what type of strategy choice do you have. Now, some civilizations, they do have obvious choices right now, but as you said, as the strategies become more and more diverse and the build orders become more and more diverse, it's gonna be next to impossible to give perfect seats to the players, simply because it really is going to come down to what your strategy is going to be, which obviously is not something that the admins will know.
And then you get into a discussion of, do you want fixed maps? Are we going that way? Because then like Age of Empires is very different overnight. This is then you're going StarCraft style maps. It changes everything. But you know what? We could literally have a podcast about this type of discussion. I think there's definitely arguments for it. And it needs to be kind of an agreement between pros. But right now, there's a clash between two pros. The Spearman bout is going back and forth. LucifroN investing harder in the spears. But notice B, he went very aggressive with these villages. We'll be able to run away. But that is now 2 idle eco that are doing nothing but running. No gathering going on here.
And you see that at the back of the base for B, that is where his OVU is at. So his spearmen have to walk all the way to the battlefield over here, which actually slows down his rate of reinforcements. Whereas if you compare it to the base of LucifroN, his stone is actually very close to that gold mine out there. So once again, there's another question. Is this good for LucifroN? Or is it actually better in this given scenario? Because right now it's easier for him to reinforce the battle here and protect his gold mine than it is for B to reinforce this battlefield.
I think it's good in the sense that B baited himself, right? Like, he really wanted that outpost to try and shut LucifroN out. And he sacrificed his own tech up timings. Look at B's gold. He's actually, like, this is just, you don't want to do this. He's got an extra 165, make that 175 for no good reason. And although that will serve to a quick castle up, he might not now get that castle up. Getting into Feudal quicker would have served him a better purpose because it might have made LucifroN slightly more defensive. But LucifroN, if he gets the Feudal up first, he might just continue the aggression. He might pull another village and try and build an outpost, and that might stunt your tech up timings in the coming minutes. It's why it's very important to not have this miscue of resources like B ended up with.
Yeah, indeed. And as you pointed out, LucifroN could just pull a villager and continue this aggression. He also has his Khan alive, whereas on the other side, B lost his Khan beforehand. So you see at the top of the screen, he doesn't have that Khan alive. He also doesn't have a scout alive. So LucifroN having that extra scout over there, he's able to keep scouting the enemy base while also using his Khan in battle. And that combination is just giving him a lot of vision and a lot of combat capabilities using that Khan at the same time. So LucifroN's position here is actually pretty decent. He's reaching Feudal Age right now. B, though, rushing up that landmark with quite a few villagers. He's going to catch up in a matter of seconds. And I just jinked that scout so badly. There goes the scout from LucifroN.
I don't know, like, I don't understand when these horses stop running away. Like, with a car, when it stops, like, it's out of gas. Like, what's going on with this horse, dude? Like, they're bringing spears. Run. Run right now. Don't listen to your rider. Will be brought down. And now the Khan respawns, and this is a problem for B. Like, the reason he wanted to rush the tech up is because the Khan difference was going to matter. It's not a lot of damage per shot, but remember, once you go to Feudal Age, your Khan can drive by. He can fire on the move.
That's which means... Yeah, like, that essentially means that you are doing damage non-stop as compared to, you know, having to stop with your Khan, fire, then catch up, and once again. So, like, having that consistent damage output from your Khan is immensely valuable.
LucifroN will peel back because you can see the numbers with B. The only reason LucifroN wanted to fight before this is because he had hardened Spearman. He didn't. But now that he's backing up, if you look at the resource, we can see that he's not exactly, like, fully just rushing towards castle. I think that's going to change in the coming minutes, though. Like, he's pulling villages now. Interesting choice. There's actually a lot of weird variability going on here from LucifroN. Like, he's not researching wheelbarrow either. So this is very suboptimal, even if you want to build. Your villages take longer to get out. And now, because they can't do anything, they take even longer to run back. I just don't know what LucifroN's doing here.
He's switching into archers, though, and that could be good. If he can take good engagements here with, like, 4 archers, he could easily take down those spears, and then, as you pointed out, just continue that aggression. Like, he was trying to pull villagers once again. I think he wants to go full Feudal here against B. And B, he could be limited on gold. That could be the weakness of B here. He's banking up the food for Castle Age, but what if we now see LucifroN trying to tower that gold mine? And I think there is an angle from which he can tower this very well.
It would be tight, though. Like, you can see, like, LucifroN feels he needs to be aggressive because there's a lot more exposure points in his base layout, right? Like, the gold is far out, the stone is far out. You don't have great, like, food reserves. Like, switching to pastures takes a lot of additional time because you can't rely upon the EV. So I think that's why LucifroN's acting like this, is because if he doesn't control the mid-flow in Feudal, he essentially loses this game because he can't access his resources. Whereas B can just remain condensed at all times.
Yeah, that's a great point indeed. And you see, B is adding just enough army here to deal with this aggression, but he's working on a Castle Age here for himself. He has banked up quite a lot of food. Gold is getting ready as well. LucifroN is actually very low on food, and that's probably because he's just investing all of his resources into army here, and he does want to push with those towers. That could actually be a very nice tower spot, but the moment B gets to Castle Age, he can just go improve siege engineering, go for a single traction trebuchet and deal with that. Oh no.
I don't know about this one, dog. LucifroN, he jumped the gun. It looks like he'll be able to get away, but like, I mean, you didn't even need to risk exposure like that, the way you done that. Outpost might be able to go up. I think the price is going to be a tech up, though. If you do get it, B will be able to go up to castle. Look at this. Marches in with the maneuver arrow. Forced to disengage. That's going to expose the villagers. Remember, the arrows don't affect villagers. So it's going to buffer him away. Reluctant to cancel the outpost, but Blueprint only a third of the way done so far. It does have the military count, so B should back up, but this should cover him to now make his way up into castle. One outpost on its own won't end his game, but it will be a frustration because if LucifroN does use the Falcon, which you get with the Khan, he'll be able to see over the tree line and snipe with this outpost.
And you just want to slow down B at this point, especially given the fact that B is not upping either. So you see, if you look at those resource bank, LucifroN is starting to bank up resources, and this is what you were referring to. You don't need to kill your enemy with these towers. All you gotta do is just buy yourself some time to go to Castle Age here. One villager does get picked off by the archers, then the second one is also gonna get killed. Big loss over there for LucifroN.
That's tough. LucifroN, like, he wanted that second outpost. And look, the torch is coming out before the arrow slits upgrade's in place. Looks like we appeal away by B, but now B having the archer count in his favor. A bad fight for LucifroN, clashing on the side. Looks like there's a villager pull coming out here. Villagers do decent damage against spears and definitely decent damage against the tower, so he'll burn that down quickly to a crisp. Can afford to do so considering those two villagers he took out. Tech up, like B, he's wiggling on the edge here. LucifroN in an awkward state where he might be forced to reinvest in a military force because of the looming threat that B is going to present after he wins this fight.
And you see
villagers are even...
Yep. Beautiful micro there by B. Very, very nice micro. And you see the moment this pressure gets away from his base, he's going to pop that tech up. In fact, he is pushing back LucifroN right now. Those archers will be heading straight towards the gold mine of LucifroN. LucifroN is not far away from Castle Age, but his buffer just got destroyed, and B is going to beat him to Castle, potentially beat him to Lancers, Men-at-Arms, or even the Relics.
I see you're a glass half full, not half empty, man, Lidakor, because saying he's close to Castle, like, he'll fix it now, but he was down to 400 food, so he's still pretty far away. Now with the reactionary outpost, that's going to delay him a little bit. It means he won't be able to stockpile initial gold for the Lancer push. That being said, if he wanted to go Lancers, he'd actually have to get them down. Looking at the infrastructure choice, it's kind of weird, actually. LucifroN needs to make sure he gets a blacksmith ready very fast, because you want siege engineering improved. Here's the problem. When you invest this much military force early on with the double production, you don't have the stone to get siege engineering improved.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Or at least if you are LucifroN. On the other hand, B, he stopped double producing units for a while, and now he's up to 235 stones. So he's going to have sufficient for that upgrade very soon. I think B is also on 2 ranges, so I can see that crossbow mangonel style unit composition being a reality for him. Whereas on the other side, for LucifroN, he's only 1 range, 1 barracks. He could do a hard switch it to cavalry, try to use that mobility. The good news for LucifroN here is that he's not going to be that much behind in Castle Age timing. And right now, for him, this being a relatively even game, or at least close to being even, is something that he has to be happy with, given how the game started.
I think the military edge makes it very uneven, though, for LucifroN's use of the generation, right? Like, the gold is so exposed. Like, the step readout, it seems good because now you've got access to big gold trickle. Like, you know, you can get the 50% extra drop-off. It's really good. You can see that LucifroN agrees when he has this many people on gold. But you want to know the other reason he has that many people on gold? Because he can be taken off it so quickly. He can't protect it. He doesn't have the military force yet, so he needs to get surplus gold in case he gets pushed off of that vein.
And the thing is that he was lacking stones, so adding a Spring Golden placement right now is not really something that he can do. That would help a lot, just trying to solidify that defense, because in this early Castle Age time frame, 1 Spring Golden placement on that tower could be immensely helpful. You see, he's now grabbing that, but is it coming too late? Only 3 Spearmen on the battlefield, though, so this might be enough, actually, for LucifroN to hold.
He should just go straight out to villagers here, like, trade out the archers.
He needs to.
He should be able to get 4 for this, maybe 3 in the end, because he didn't micro quick enough. Still gets rid of 3. First Lancer comes out. But the Spearmen get the value in the trade here. Not the best usage of the Lancer there, so that's costly for LucifroN. He does at least have 500 surplus gold in reserve, but a frustrating state of affair because now you just move past the outpost. You go deeper. You don't have to kill anything. You can just stand here and prevent him from using the step readout, which is a big deal in a Mongol mirror matchup.
It's a big deal indeed, and as you pointed out, the Spearmen were able to take down that first knight, and that is painful out there for LucifroN, because now the first Lancers are coming out as well for B, and in the mirror matchups, we talked about this one, small differences matter, and right now this is not a small difference, this is a big difference. You're trying to do essentially the same thing, but B is ahead by 2 steps.
And this comes back to the stone usage because LucifroN invested so much in the early military. He didn't have double production for the Lancers and also didn't have the stone to get the Springald upgrade on that outpost. Imagine if he had Springald here. These two Lancers can't do this. They die. Instead, they're free to do whatever the hell they want. And now look at this. He tries to actually gap close B. He blocks it in. It's way too greedy. Just take the trades. You don't need to kill the step readout. You're already killing LucifroN's game. Look at his gold. He just built this prayer temple. He can't afford units out of it.
Oh no, that's disaster. Villagers falling as well. And behind this one, B is getting ready to pick up the relics himself. Right now, LucifroN simply has no access to gold. And his backup gold mine is to the south, which is not something that he can access because the knights and the archers are just there. So right now, B is cutting him off from all accessible gold, and I think improved siege engineering is already on the way here for B. He's getting ready for the mangonels to be added, the springles to be added. It looks like the step out is gonna head north. Where is he going?
Yeah, but that's Arrow Slits again. LucifroN once again can't afford to go for the Springald upgrades. Arrow Slits isn't gonna save you here. The Lancers will kill you. I don't get it. Like LucifroN, like you should be able to save up for Springald and buy it on one of these outposts quick enough. Like he's floating 200 stone because now he wants to get the Lancer, right? He wants double Lancer production, but you're past that point. You're outnumbered on the Lancers. Static defenses is the only way you're now going to hold. And as a result of this, you can see that the Lancers is at least going to try to raid out to control the relic situation, but you can't because although you might be able to block relic gathering from B with the assistance of wildlife, as we see from Wolf there, can't really get it yourself because you've only got one monk and your step readout is inactive now for what, 3-4 minutes?
That's a ton of gold loss. Nope.
That would have actually been big, but that one monk, he actually ducks and runs. Can't run away from a Lancer though.
Nope, not at all. And as you said, this step readout is right now idle, which is a big amount of gold that you lose out on. And you're also going to lose that tower over here. You see that the Mongol player here is about to burn down first the foundation, which B of course gets rewarded for being Mongols as well. And then the other tower as well being set on fire. You're not only going to give bounty for B this way, you're also going to lose another tower with arrow slits on it, so a bunch of stone going down the drain here, and as you pointed out, it probably would have been better to try and save up for a single tower with Springald rather than having 2 or 3 towers with arrow slits.
It kind of feels a little bit tilted the way that he didn't delete that outpost. Like maybe I'm just reading things because obviously, you know, we had some interesting games with Golden League, but like that was a very weird blueprint to just hold. Because you would have at least got your wood back, right? You at least would have had wood to play with. Maybe LucifroN's thought process is he doesn't actually prioritize that because he's got surplus wood, that's all he's got. But it's still another small detail that adds up the difference in a mirror matchup, and it's just too much. All these small differences added up, and B will take game 1 in the Mongol mirror.
Convincing game number 1 victory over here. Obviously, one can debate the map spawn over here, but this is something that you have to account for. Like, sometimes you will be unlucky with the map, sometimes you will be lucky. This time around, B was able to exploit that map generation that LucifroN had. And ultimately, what, as we discussed, this came down to a certain extent is, you know, just committing so much to that early aggression for LucifroN with all the stone being spent on units and just not having enough for that spring golden placement, which would have helped so much defending that initial gold mine. And obviously, just slowing down that snowball. This is a difficult spot for LucifroN to be in. B exploited those weaknesses really well, the weaknesses with the map spawn, and B takes game number 1. LucifroN, though, he definitely has a chance to recover over here on this one because he has played well. It's just the fact that his map is not something that was really suitable for this matchup here.
Yeah, I actually liked his early aggression. I think the mistake that was unforgivable in LucifroN's game was the double production usage. Like, he needed to start saving stone for either Lancers or the Springald upgrades. Because he didn't have that surplus stone, it really set him back. And it just shows you how much difference, like, 1 or 2 Lancers can make. Like, if you think about the way that start played out, he lost 1 Lancer, the first one he produced, a single production, right? So he didn't even get Uvu benefits, to a Spearman underneath an outpost, because the outpost didn't prioritize the Spearman at all. They were attacking archers. And then B arrives with 2, and you aren't double producing.